I want to build a large expanse of plains, a huge mountain range, and a Dracula castle. Why? Because I really like Halloween, that's why. And also because I ran out of time for building my Halloween themed map in this video. 33 hours just wasn't gonna cut it. So maybe 100 hours will be enough. Guess we'll find out, won't we? I must admit, it's a little awkward looking out my window and having it look like this while I'm building Halloween related stuff, but hey, it's technically not winter yet, okay? Gosh. I've briefly gone back in time to let you know that I'm once again expanding this giant black box serving as my border, because I need even more room than I initially thought. No one could have predicted this, especially not if you watched the first video I made on this map. And yeah, this whole edition took about 10 hours to build, but now I'm ready for the Dracula Castle. I use that term somewhat loosely, mainly to mean a castle built in the Gothic architectural style, and since I always do much better recreating something that already exists, I've found a real-life castle that perfectly fits what I have in mind. Hohenzollern Castle, located in Germany, and with its current iteration completed in 1867, will be perfect after a few color changes. I'd also be willing to bet a lot of money that a certain fictional castle's design was heavily inspired by a Hohenzollern Castle. My build will be closest to 1-to-1 scale, since I've still got 90 hours left and I'm not building a little wimpy castle. Certain parts of the structure are going to be very difficult to get right since most of the real-life castle translates into diagonals when using blocks. And we all know how much fun diagonals are. You know what's worse than diagonals? Diagonals coming off of other diagonals going in different diagonal directions. After this build, remind me to never use diagonals ever again. But I've managed to build out the borders of the large structure the actual castle sits on, and it turns out that it doesn't fit in my black border. Neat. I've also managed to make the most intricate pathway in the history of pathways. This thing gradually slopes upward as it conducts multiple loop-de-loops on its way up the side of the wall. The best part is that it's not even done. There's still another loop-de-loop before it reaches the top. Here's a fun concept to think about while watching the next time-lapse. Diagonal circles. Was that a fun thought experiment? I've made the rest of the pathway and the one standalone gatehouse tower, but most importantly, I've finished the outline for the castle buildings themselves. The primary courtyards are raised yet higher off the ground and are where most of the doors into the castle are found. These are reached by a long ramp that goes through the gatehouse. All I can really do now is just start building the walls and putting in windows and hoping everything lines up. To be honest, that's how a lot of these recreations go, except in the few times I do some measurements and math is just winging it and hoping that it works. Well, it's mostly working for now. I've had to expand the entire castle a little bit once or twice, but we're doing pretty well at the moment. I should also mention that I'm purposely using the same colors here as in the real castle at this point, since trying to recreate the structure and rework the color scheme at the same time is too difficult. For me, the colors of the structure are useful when figuring out the structure of the structure, if that makes sense. I figured out the structure of the structure. That part is done. It's a very large structure as well. Just look at the size of it on the map when compared to the entire area previously built. There's a few angles that aren't quite what they're supposed to be, and they'll continue to trigger me, but I won't trigger you guys by pointing them out. If you can spot them though, then I congratulate you on having a keen eye. And to think this entire castle and all of its scaling came just from that little arch I built over there. Now I'm gonna transform it from the color palette of a Lego Hogwarts castle to something a little bit spookier. This might take a little while. Yeah, that took a long time. I really hope World Edit doesn't have a feature that allows you to replace direction-oriented blocks like stairs and trapdoors correctly, because if it does, I'm going to feel like an idiot. Because that's what took so long. I had to do that by hand. Nothing beyond block colors has really changed about this castle, which means there is still a lot of work to do. I need to decorate the exterior gardens and pathways in addition to building an interior. First things first though, I need more trees. More than the several dozen I made in the last video. I need dead spooky trees. These aren't hard to come by, since years and years ago when I made this part of the map, I built all these trees by hand because I didn't know any better. They're all unique, by the way. So now, I'm gonna yoink a couple of them and set them up with structure blocks to use elsewhere. Which I have now done. I've also tried to design a few sycamore trees, as they're some of my favorite trees in real life, and they are kind of like ghost-like already. But so far, they don't translate very well into blocks. If there were bone fences and walls, things might be different, so for now I'll have to do without. Would you say this is Halloween-y enough? Actually, I wouldn't, because I'm not done with it yet. I decorated all the pathways, gardens, and natural areas surrounding the castle, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I've also changed the biome of this entire area to swamp, so that we get those nice dark green plant colors. I'm now going to suspend some pumpkins from these trees using chains and build a large statue in this garden, just in case you weren't quite sure if this was Halloween themed or not yet. I've never really made statues before, so I'm not really sure how this turned out. It's supposed to be a cloaked knight leaning on a sword. And I'll call it terminally average for first attempt and move on. Oh man, there's a lot of room in here. Just making the interior took about as long as the entire first video I made on this map. I'm glad I decided to do 100 hours. This interior is not at all based off of the real castle and is entirely my own design. Speaking of which, I never know how much to show of the interiors I build. I don't want to make the video go on forever showing everything, but I also don't want to skip lots of stuff. Maybe you guys could leave your preference down in the comments and I'll take a look. Yeah, so there are a lot of rooms in here. We'll start with the library, taking up a large section of the left-hand side of the castle. Notably, the bookshelves form a small maze that you can navigate. Most of the bottom floor has hallways with floor tiles, unlike the upper stories, which are wood and carpet. This bedroom has an infestation in the closet and a surprise in the wardrobe. It's also very dark at night. Actually, this whole place is very dark, all the time. I don't think there is one normal torch to be found in this entire castle. Whole lot of candles and redstone torches though. Ah, the basement. Who doesn't like basements, especially in spooky castles? Maybe this one would be more aptly named a dungeon. This basement actually connects to another basement under the library. There's definitely a dungeon down here as well, just in case anyone was wondering. I really like all the rooms I made that have fireplaces. This is the biggest entrance area, complete with a large staircase and seating underneath it. All the way on the right side of the castle is a chapel area in the room. It probably has the best view as it's aligned with the setting sun and moon. There's a weird little room that extends 3 floors high with a staircase going between all of them. It's not quite secret, but it's pretty close. We have a map room, a second floor entrance, and the Great Hall. Do you think I've got enough floating candles here? I think it's just right. Absolutely nothing at all in this room was inspired by literally anything else. Nope. Past the Great Hall is a large ballroom complete with a piano. It's the first time I've made a piano in this game, and I will rate it recognizable out of 10. The third floor has the most of the bedrooms and sitting rooms, in addition to a couple of unique rooms. One of those rooms is at the top of one of the smaller towers. It contains a large mess of bookshelves and storage crates, among some more unusual things. Whatever is being studied here is entirely up to interpretation. Same for the top of this other tower. Very purple. Actually, pretty much all of the unusual stuff is found in the towers. Although I really like this tower since it's got a sitting room with a fireplace, 10 points to Gryffindor in my book, then a bedroom in the next story up, and finally, one of my patented lava orbs found in several places in this map. I just made that up now. I really have no idea what happened at the bottom of this tower. There's a lot of snow and ice, plus some giant bones, so who knows. The Great Hall at night. Boring storage room, an explosive hazard. How many dimensions would you like to go to? A normal bedroom with a nice canopy bed. Hot tub room in case Twitch streamers visit. Garden room with various plants. This is the room I'd be hanging out in. Oh yeah, and there's a secret passageway and a staircase into the dungeons. So I thought that was everything, but then I remembered that the gatehouse tower and the basement under the chapel. Guess I'm not quite done building. And there's also a doorway that led to nowhere, except now it leads to a room that would seem more at home in a ski lodge. And off of that room is the hallway of death that leads to a cell in the dungeons. The basement under here now leads to that semi-secret staircase. Starting to see why this alone took 30 hours. Anyways, there isn't a lot of time left, but I will use what remains to get back to work on the landscape, because the castle itself is done. Everything around it isn't though. I'm out of time, and I've greatly reduced the sea of aquamarine that is my placeholder block for terrain, including painting all of the mountains with natural colors. I've never made anything at all like this terrain before, so I didn't really know what I was doing at first with the block colors, but I think it turned out really well. It's not actually done, of course, because I still want to put cyan terracotta patches in the stone, and then obviously I need to make some paths and add vegetation and whatnot. I am really happy with what I did get done though. Lots more than the first video. A fair amount of that was just learning more world edit features, in part thanks to some informative comments on that first video. And of course, the huge castle would have been a nightmare to detail without world edit block percentages. I think the castle is great, but I'm not building anything with diagonals ever again. At least not for a really long time. Anyways, if you'd like to check this castle out for yourself, you can find a schematic of it in my Patreon. At some point, I'll probably make a follow-up video on this map since I'm not done with the terrain, but I'm not sure when or how it'll be presented. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching, and consider dropping a like and hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. But that's all for now. Until next time, take care everyone. See ya!